Hello, and welcome back to the Military Matrix. Today we will tell you how Ukraine has moved beyond the limits of traditional artillery and targeted a major Russian bridge, an action whose military, logistical, and political consequences are deep and far-reaching. The nature of this strike, the strategy behind selecting this target, and the message it sends to Moscow are not just a frontline clash, but a signal of the new rules of modern warfare. The first point to understand is the military importance of this bridge. It served as a central supply line for Russian forces. Military equipment, fuel, armored trucks, and artillery units were constantly moving back and forth across it. When a single node like this is hit, not only does that location get disrupted, but all the smaller convoys dependent on it are affected as well. The capabilities Ukraine demonstrated in this attack go far beyond traditional artillery. Modern, long-range, highly precise systems were used, including long-range missiles, cruise missiles, and energy-packed drone operations. These are the systems that can strike specific points and disrupt an entire enemy logistics network. To help you understand, let me give you an example. If a bridge was handling 10 trucks per week, after this strike that flow can drop to half or even less. Trucks will assess the danger before moving. Alternate routes will be longer and unsafe, and delays will appear throughout the real logistics complex. The immediate effect will reach frontline soldiers' shortages in ammunition, delays in repairs and medical aid, and overall slower transport. Politically, this strike also means Ukraine no longer wants to restrict itself to frontline skirmishes. It is now prepared to strike the nerve centers from where entire operations are controlled. The clear goal behind this move was to force Russia to reconsider its operational strategy. Will it deploy extra forces and resources to secure supply routes? And if so, where will those resources come from? In other words, Ukraine has created a problem for Russia that is not only military but linked to budget, manpower, and public perception. Coming to the technical details of the strike, reports indicate that this was a coordinated, multi-domain operation. Major cruise missiles weakened strategic corners of the bridge, while small suicide drones conducted fine precision, targeting directly over the structure to collapse its supporting and opposing elements. Intelligence played a key role. Satellite imagery, signals intelligence, and ground triggers helped Ukraine determine the exact time and location for maximum impact. Such coordinated strikes send a clear message. Ukraine now has the capability to reach deep targets and weaken them over time. The question now arises: what might Russia's immediate military response be? The most probable first reaction will be an increase in protective measures, more complex defensive barriers around bridges, deployment of air defense units, and possibly temporary closure of bridges after repairs to prevent further strikes. Along with this, Moscow may try to regain balance through counter-attacks, whether aerial operations or missile strikes. However, the wider questions are long-term. Will Russia diversify its logistics network? Will it create a web of alternative routes or rely on riskier but more concealed ground corridors? Such measures are expensive and time-consuming, and their burden will fall on both the public and the military. Globally, the impact will also be evident. The loss of a major bridge can disrupt international supplies. Private contractors and aid organizations may face delays, and on a European level, questions related to energy and economy may arise. Moreover, the media landscape will treat this incident as a serious setback for Moscow, exposing weakness both in internal stability and projection of power. In the end, this strike signals a new phase of modern warfare where infrastructure-based, precision-driven, intelligence-supported attacks are becoming central to conflict. Ukraine's strategy shows that weakening the enemy is not just about fighting on the front line. It is also about slowing down the enemy's operational machinery. In the coming weeks, we will see how Russia compensates for these losses, whether it can establish an alternative logistics network, or if this incident causes long-lasting disruption in Russian operations. Analysts also warn that such attacks can raise complex questions regarding international law and protection of civilian infrastructure. especially when such structures also impact public transportation and private business. This event has the potential to change the nature of the war, and that is why we must carefully observe the next military and political steps. To conclude, Ukraine's move is not just a military action, but a strategic message, long, range, precise, and meaningful. The effects of this message will unfold in the days ahead, not just on the battlefield, but also on diplomatic fronts across the world. This was your fastest briefing update from Military Matrix. We will inform you immediately as soon as more reliable details arrive. Today, we will tell you from a different angle how Ukraine, moving beyond conventional artillery, targeted an important Russian bridge and struck at a much broader objective. The objective was not just a physical structure, but the heart of an entire operational system. The immediate scene was that the cracks and partial collapse blocked traffic on the bridge. But the real impact is that the linked logistic routes and the construction industry received a shock that may be felt for months. The operational logic behind this action is simple. When you block the enemy's physical access, you halt the enemy's forward movement. Thus, one strike affected multiple fronts: military transportation, rear support, and post-war repair processes. Ukraine likely spent months preparing the intelligence and rehearsing the operational planning needed to execute such a strike with modern long-range precision weapons. This involved satellite data, fitness tracking, and insider local information to ensure maximum military effect with minimum civilian damage. The strike clearly shows that Ukraine is no longer only skilled in frontline clashes, but has begun to adopt high-value infrastructure targeting as well. This means that in the future, Russian forces will have to spend additional resources protecting key locations, which may weaken them on the front line. Another important aspect is that although the bridge damage immediately affects communications and transportation, in the long run, it will force Russia to rethink its logistics planning. For example, they may be compelled to use more secure container-based systems or underground corridors. Whatever they choose, the impact will not only be military but economic as well. Trade routes will slow, material prices may rise, and the local population may face uncertainty. Experts agree that this kind of target selection aims to gradually reduce the enemy's endurance, creating economic, military, and political pressure. If such strikes continue, the impact will eventually be felt by both Russian soldiers and the internal population, which may influence government policy. There is also a technical side. Damaging a bridge usually requires high-grade equipment and expertise. It cannot be done by simple rocket fire. The missiles, guided bombs, and drone operations Ukraine used indicate clear advancement in reach, targeting, and technical proficiency. Now the question arises, how will the international community react? Some countries will support increased defense aid and weapon supplies, while some humanitarian groups will raise concerns about potential civilian risks. The media will portray this as a new turning point, not just the destruction of a bridge, but as a powerful message that long-range targets are no longer safe. There is also an ethical and legal dimension. When a target holds military value but civilians live nearby, the attacking side must ensure avoidance of unnecessary harm, a core principle in the laws of war. In conclusion, this strike has changed conventional concepts of warfare. Integrated operations combining air, land, and cyber intelligence are becoming central to future conflicts. Ukraine's advancement proves that even smaller nations can challenge larger opponents using modern weapons and informational superiority. In the future, we will see whether this strike remains a lone incident or marks the beginning of a broader strategic pattern. Military Matrix will continue to bring you every new detail as it unfolds.